You're welcome back. President John Mahama has signed the 24-Hour Economy Authority Bill into law, creating the legal and regulatory foundation needed to formally roll out the government's 24-hour economy and accelerated export development program. The newly established authority will be responsible for implementing the 24-Hour Economy Initiative. In his remarks after signing the bill, President Mahama said although it has taken some time, the government needed to move patiently through the process in order to give it legal effect.
Cabinet colleagues, I've just appended my signature to give assent to the 24-hour authority bill. This is a bill Ghanaians have been working for. It was one of our flagship strategies for economic transformation. It's taking a while, but we needed to go patiently through the process to give legal effect to it. And so from now, we must move from strategy to implementation. The business sector is waiting, Ghanaian investors are waiting, foreign investors are waiting. They want to see the package of incentives that we afford them so that they can invest more and expand productivity and also create more employment for our young people. And so it's my pleasure to assent to this bill today. Thank you. And let me congratulate the team that has been working on it, our comrade Guzitando and his team. We're very grateful. Thank you very much.
Right now and speak to Abdul Nasser Soglu Alidu. He is the Chief Program Officer of the 24-Hour Economy. Welcome to the program. What does the new law mean for the authority? Hello, Abdul Nasser, can you hear me? I'd want you to unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
I am unmuted.
Yes. I was asking what the new law means for your authority.
I guess, like the president said, this gives legal effect to the 24-hour economy program. Before this law, we're a secretariat. And as a secretariat, you wouldn't be able to sign agreements, get into agreement with partners and all of that. So, the most important thing for us is that now we can enter into legal agreements. We can actually do a lot of things on our own as an authority. The other thing is it gives permanence to the 24-hour economy program because you have an authority right now that, has been charged, that's backed by law and been charged to implement this program. So it gives permanence to the program. It gives legal form to the authority or to the program so that we can enter into agreements. And I guess beyond everything to it signals that we are ready to hit the ground running.
And Abdul Nasser,
that's what it really means.
Right. What preparatory works were done before the signing of this new bill?
Well, I think since President Mahama came into power and the 24-hour economic secretariat got put in place, we've done quite a bit. The first part of what we had to do was the engagement process. There are a lot of stakeholders that we needed to speak to in the process of trying to understand what really had to be done if we want to have a 24-hour economy program or if we want to establish a 24-hour economy in Ghana. So some of the preparatory work has involved, meeting with industry, meeting with people, which then culminated in the program that was launched in July last year. Beyond that, we've also been doing a lot of work around ensuring that we're able to take away the constraints that businesses face in growing. So, for instance, we've worked on an incentive program that has been submitted to the Ministry of Finance. Energy has always been a big issue for industry. We have been working to identify an investor that would come in and help us to significantly bring down energy costs for participants within the 24-hour economy program. That also, we've identified someone that we're working with towards that. We've been working on identifying land that could be used for agriculture and industrial purposes. So far, we've identified more than 400,000 hectares of land. We've been structuring specific catalytic programs,
right,
in projects. So you have quite a number of them. You have a farmer park in Akuse that is that we are putting in place. You have a machinery park in Kumasi. You have the Volta Lake transport system that we are reviving. So there's been quite a lot of work that's going on. They are not just preparatory work. A lot of them is actually execution that's underway. Except that most of the execution is being done quietly in the background, and Ghanaians will begin to see the effects very soon.
You have called for private partnerships. So far, you've mentioned that some have started coming in. Can you quantify the number of private entities that have jumped on board, and in fact, the preparations towards making this a realization?
All right. So in terms of quantifying the interaction, so we've had a formal process of people, of engaging people, and so far we have about 412 people, 412, Ghanaian businesses. So these are local businesses that we have engaged with, and that have, either submitted a proposal or expressed interest in doing one thing or the other, either joining a pack, taking advantage of some of the funding opportunities that we are providing and all of that. So in terms of quantifying, that's what I'll say. But beyond that, we've engaged, investors beyond the shores of Ghana. So we are engaging with investors on ensuring that we are able to enable the Volta Lake transport, for instance. So we're engaging investors from different countries. We've engaged investors from Denmark. We've engaged investors from China, Korea, the Netherlands, so it's quite a large array of engagements that we've had to date.
And how much are investors willing to commit to the 24-hour economy policy?
Well, so with the right, the way we've structured the 24-hour economy program is that the program is going to be executed mostly off the government balance sheet. So you're getting private investors to come in and undertake projects, some of which ordinarily governments would have had to do. And so you need to structure it in a way that makes sense for these private investors. Now, what we are doing is providing what we call the viability gap funding. And the viability gap funding, the incentives are one way of structuring the viability gap funding. There are also different ways of structuring the viability gap funding. But once you have that viability gap funding, there is no limit to how much you can actually get people to come. You are only limited by the size of the opportunities.
Right. This was one of the flagship programs of the NDC during the 2024 elections. What the layman understood was that one job, 3 shifts, 3 persons. It appears that the format has changed a bit, hasn't it?
No, the format hasn't changed. It's still, being able to run a shift system. Now, what you realize is that to run it's businesses, it's mostly private businesses that employ people. Now, for private businesses, for factories and all of that to employ the people, they need to have that. They need to be able to utilize the capacity that they have. Today, capacity utilization in industry is around 40% in Ghana. That means we need to figure out ways to ensure that we are improving that capacity. We need to ensure that the feedstock that they need to produce, they have it. We need to ensure that they have the electricity at the good prices. We need to ensure that we are giving them those incentives that make them able to produce and utilize the full capacity. And that's what I'm saying. We've been working, behind the scenes to ensure that we overcome those constraints. We get them power at good prices. We get them the incentives, and most importantly, to increase capacity utilization in factories, in businesses, so that the businesses will be able to employ more. So the formula hasn't changed.
Okay. I didn't get a definite answer when I asked you about how much investors are willing to commit to the 24-hour economy program. Do I get the sense that the authority does not have a definite amount of money they need to execute this project?
No, your question was how much are people willing to? And what I told you is that how much people are willing to, you don't have a cap on how much people are willing to.
Okay.
As long as you provide them the framework within which to come. But for every single project that we have, that single project is costed. So we have a catalog of projects, and you can go through the projects, and each project is costed, right, for people to invest in. I mean, today, if you ask me, the total investment for all the projects that we've looked at right now will be about 10 billion USD. And this is not coming from government. This is actually coming from private sector, to invest in these projects.
Right. And how much is coming from government?
So that's why I said government's role is really about providing the viability gap funding to unlock these. The viability gap funding is number one in the incentive scheme. So government will roll out the 24-hour economic incentive scheme that provides an impetus for private sector to come in. Government will support in bringing in some, catalytic funding. So we are looking at climate funding, for instance. We're trying to get about $250 million in climate funding to come in and direct some of these projects. And government will also then resource the 24-hour economy secretariat. This year's budget, government is giving us about 110 million cedis. But that's really for administrative purpose and to allow us to be able to unlock a lot of this money. And just to think about it, right? I mean, the 110 million cedis is about $10 million. One project alone could be as much as $200 million. And government is constrained. Government can't do all of this. And that's why you need the private sector to support government to bring that transformation to Ghana.
I asked you that question because earlier we had reports that government was going to provide some seed money.
Well, we've been trying to work with the Ministry of Finance to figure out how we can provide some seed funding for GIF, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. Okay. Because GIF is the infrastructure partner. Now, you also realize that on government budget, there are a number of projects, infrastructure projects, especially under the big push, that government is advancing. Now, all of these would also be, not all of this, some of these will be leveraged to direct some of these projects. And those will constitute some of the investment that government needs to make into this to direct the project so that private sector can come in.
Let's look at its effectiveness and its utilization. Is it going to be across every region in Ghana, or are there some select regions that you are going to pilot to see if it works, then you spread it across the rest of the regions? How is it going to be like?
So transformation doesn't just happen in one place. When you're doing an economic transformation program, you're transforming the whole country, you're transforming the whole economy. And so when you take a look at the projects that we are designing, there are projects that are designed for almost for every region, you have some projects. But the key platform that we are leveraging is what we call the Volta Economic Corridor. And the Volta Economic Corridor basically is about enabling trade and business within the Volta Basin. The Volta Basin, it stretches from Tema all the way to Tamale and, around it. So from Tema to Akosombo to Bupe, Yape, to Tamale, and you see all the projects around there. Now, the reason why this is like a flagship platform within the 24-hour economy is because the Volta Lake itself, which is the biggest man-made lake in the world, is a latent resource that we haven't really utilized much. And if we use it, we are able to then significantly transform agriculture through irrigated agriculture, transform industry with the industrial parks that utilize the water and all of that. And importantly, also transform transportation by using the lake for transportation, without significantly reduce the cost of transport and all of that. So it's a national program, but there's a flagship platform, which is the Volta Economic Corridor.
There are also concerns that our country is already an agrarian economy. And speaking to you, you've touched mainly on agriculture, how to boost our agricultural production. There are people who are asking, what about AI? What about manufacturing? Are there anything in it for them?
I mean, actually, that premise is also not accurate because our economy is really not an agrarian one. If you look at it, our economy is dominated by services. And that's the way our transition to services is actually one of the problems that our economy faces, and that's one of the transformation we want to. Because you're seeing movement out of agric, but instead of going into high value jobs, most of these are ending up in low value services jobs. It's part of the problem of unemployment. It's why, for instance, when you look at our employment rate, almost 70% of people employed in Ghana are in what the Ghana Statistical Service calls vulnerable employment. That cannot, continue. So what we are doing is to figure out how we modernize this economy, industrialize it, so that the movements from agriculture and even, from services can start going into high-value productive jobs, productive sectors, to improve, earnings, ensure that you are, improving the living standards of Ghanaians, and advancing prosperity across the whole country. So that's really what it is that we are looking at.
Although it was signed into law as an authority just recently, but the 24-hour economy secretariat has been there for a while. How has implementation been so far? I know that you've started implementation. Let's start with the government sector. Have you started from there, and how has it been so far?
Okay, so I guess let's take a step back, right? I know what you are asking right now. The specific question you are asking is, how many companies are doing 133, right? But when you think about the implementation, what you should realize is that the implementation of 24-hour economy is not seen just in people doing 133. It's seen in the increase in productive capacity across the country. That's really what we need to, because the objective here is to create jobs. And, so increase productive capacity so that you can ensure that the economy is growing and the growth is translating into jobs and prosperity for people. And in that sense, the implementation has already started. In that sense, for instance, like I told you, we are at this stage working on a project to improve or to provide energy to companies within the 24-hour economy program at less than 7 cents per kilowatt hour. That is part of the implementation. Okay, so in that sense, implementation has started all over. But if you're asking about 133, there are a number of businesses that are doing 133. There are a number of, public corporations that are doing it. I mean, just today, I just came back from a meeting with NPA, where we are working to ensure that in the downstream petroleum sector, we're able to implement the shift system, because that's one of the sectors that we believe is ready to be able to do the shift system and do. So that there's been a lot of work that's going on there. And, people are announcing, what we are waiting for is to get the incentive schemes passed, and then you can roll that out even, on a larger scale.
One of the many benefits we were told about the 24-hour economy was the creation of jobs. 1 year down the line, can you tell us the number of jobs the 24-hour economy has been able to create for Ghana?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number now. That I will not be able to tell you now. But hopefully, and we are actually working closely with the Ghana Statistical Service to put together a monitoring and evaluation system that is transparent and that everybody will be able to take a look at. So hopefully in the coming months, we'll be able to outdoor this, and everybody will have a lot more visibility into how many jobs are being created.
So in the medium to long term, what should we expect from the 24-hour economy authority, now that you're an authority, in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, in terms of implementation? What are the plans ahead?
Well, you should expect that we will tackle a lot of the constraints that is making it difficult for businesses to operate. So you should expect a reduction in power rates. You should expect a lot of the projects that we have planned coming on stream. You should expect a lot of the funding that we've been trying to get into for SME on lending, for businesses to come through. I mean, right now, actually, we are working with an international development bank that has approved about 290 million. Actually, they've approved 290 million for Ghana. And 3 banks in Ghana have taken up 210 to put in an SME on lending facility. So you should expect a lot of these things being announced and coming on stream.
So how is success going to be measured like? How is success like with this 24-hour economy?
Ultimately, by the number of jobs that are created and the quality of those jobs. Ultimately, that's how success will be measured.
And as we speak right now, the authority is not able to tell us the number of jobs it has been able to create through the 24-hour economy.
Well, I mean, the authority wouldn't be creating the jobs. The economy will be creating the jobs. So, I mean, if in terms of how many jobs have been, if you actually take a look at the latest report from Ghana Statistical Service, unemployment has actually fallen to 12.05%. So if you're looking at it, it's about the productive capacity of the economy. It's not the authority that will create the job. It is what the authority enables, which is the economy that's going to create the jobs.
That has already been explained to us. You mentioned the Volta Corridor project that you say is currently ongoing. Aside from that, which other project is currently ongoing?
Say that again. Can you please ask that question again?
When I asked you if implementation has already begun, you cited the Volta Corridor project that you say is currently ongoing. And I'm asking, beyond that project that you mentioned to us, can you tell us other projects that are currently ongoing that have been enabled through the Secretariat?
So let me talk. Let me give you a few. So one, we have the Akuse Pharmaceutical Innovation Park. We call it the Legon Pharmaceutical Innovation Park because we are developing together with University of Ghana. And that is meant to ensure that we're able to produce the APIs and also the essential medicine that we require in this country. There is the Kumasi Machinery and Technology Park, which we're working on that with KNUST, and that is focused on producing the farm implements, the basic implements that we require in our farm. So that's being done in KNUST. We've acquired the land around KNUST, and there are a few partners that we're working on to that. There's a Tamale Air Cargo Hub. And the Tamale Air Cargo Hub, if you take a look at Tamale, the Tamale Airport is has the longest runway in Ghana. And if you're coming from North Africa, if you're coming from Europe, it's the closest, airport. And you also have a lot of agricultural activity going around there. So we are, converting that area into a horticultural zone where you're producing vegetables and also producing coronation flowers. Because we've done studies on the soils around, Kintampo going up, and those soils are very similar to the soils in Kenya where they farm a lot of their flowers. So that the Tamale Air Cargo Hub then becomes the hub through which you can export a lot of these. There's the inland water transport, which basically is 2 projects. One is the transportation itself on the lake, and the other is the ports that we are working on to actually bring to stream. There is the North Shore Industrial Park, which is a light industrial park that will focus on garments and also on agro-processing. There's a Volobato Agro-Industrial Park, which focuses on sugarcane, rice, and maize. And today, the sugarcane plant is actually up. So the sugarcane plant has actually been completed. There's a starch plant that will be coming in, and then we are inviting a few more other people to come in. So there are a number of them. There are about 15 projects right now that are ongoing.
The NPP, the opposition New Patriotic Party, has already said that this 24-hour economy project is already dead on arrival. There are fears that it could become a white elephant, just like other projects and initiatives that, successive governments have tried implementing. Should there be such fears?
Fortunately for us, we had what they did to learn from. So we took a lot of lessons from what has happened in the past. And in doing that, we've designed this program to be sustainable and to also avoid some of the pitfalls. And importantly, we've designed this around the private sector. The part of the reason why we designed it around private sector is to ensure that or to overcome the problem of governments being constrained by government finances. Now, the other part also is that the private sector invests in places where they have more of a long-term view and where they see value. So almost all the projects that I mentioned to you are projects that we designed together with private anchor investors. And private anchor investors are not going to put their money into projects that are going to become, white elephants. So we believe that we've learned, quite some good lessons from the mistakes that were made in the past, and we've designed a program that would be successful and that would, be sustainable in the long term, and transform the economy of Ghana, most importantly.
Right. We know that this is under the presidency, and I want to find out from you, has the authority started running a 24-hour economy policy?
I don't understand that question.
Are you running 24 hours? Do you work 24 hours?
Unfortunately, no, we don't work 24 hours.
Why? They say charity begins at home.
Yes, but you see, and that's why I told you that the issue is really about improving productive capacity,
right, so
that you can employ more people and give more people jobs and a better life.
Right.
That's really what the fundamental issue is.
Right. Abdul Nasser Alidu, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. He's the Chief Programs Officer at the 24-Hour Economy Authority. And
thank you very much.
And government has proposed a new law before Parliament to reintroduce BNI under a new name, Bureau of National Intelligence, to prevent a confusion with the current name NIB, which is often associated with the National Investment Bank, NIB. The Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill is also seeking to place the National Security Coordination under the presidency while effectively scrapping the Ministry of National Security. Minority MPs have kicked against the proposed reforms in the bill, describing it as flawed and overly centralizing power in the National Security Coordination without adequate safeguards. Here are excerpts from a debate in the chamber yesterday.
Unfortunately, we have a situation where when you say NIB, people are wondering whether you're talking about the bank or you're talking about the security agency. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the significant things that we are trying to do is to reintroduce the name BNI. But this time, even though the BNI of yesterday was Bureau of National Investigation, this BNI will still remain Bureau of National Intelligence. If you are not careful, you create conflict between a detailed ministerial role and the function of the National Security Coordinator, because it's supposed to coordinate all the activities within the space. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to keep this position as more or less of that of the president, and then he gets one of his ministers to play that oversight without the necessarily fine detailed designation of a minister for national security, so that as much as possible you try to avoid the conflict between the minister and the national security coordinator.
They say it is their direction. So I'm asking, if in 4 years, and it will happen, you are no more in power, we were expecting the new government to also bring a new act to reflect their direction. Is that what we are saying? So you cannot say, Mr. Speaker, that the policy direction for which you are changing the bill is because you want the National Security Coordinator to coordinate the activities. It's already, that's what is being done. And so it will be dangerous for this nation to make that office an agency and say that Parliament shall audit its accounts just like what they are doing to others. I think it's a misplaced priority. If you do that, you will suffer. Take it from me. You will have difficulty because when you need your soldiers to move in 30 minutes to quell an instance, you won't have resources. If the president has a problem of appointing a minister, he should not appoint the minister as he has done. There's no need.
The memorandum before us does not provide any empirical evidence to suggest that Act 1030 has failed. It appears that this bill is more founded on partisan political interest than a national security interest for good governance. what is being proposed. So much power is being given to the coordinator. It is not clear how his powers are going to be fettered. Mr. Speaker, my submission is that if you give such powers to the coordinator and you do not provide for a clear path of responsibility, accountability, and oversight, it becomes problematic to you yourself as a government. And when the rights of citizens are being abused, the man will come and tell you that in the name of national security, there will be the need for the minister to sit with us as a house, do further winnowing, and incorporate the major concerns raised by the minority on this floor.
How for the clients? When they finish, they say, my lawyer spoke the way my lawyer cannot. Did you see the way my lawyer was talking? The other lawyers in the courtroom know that he said nothing. I have listened to all that my friends on the other side have said, and I cannot hear anything. We indeed cut down the number of ministers. The decision to amend this. And among the ministries that we decided to guillotine was the Minister for National Security. The fundamental thing about this bill is to revise the existing legislation and take out the imposition of a Minister for National Security. What you did here is to force the hand of a president so that he must appoint a Minister for National Security. It was a wrong thing for us to have done as a parliament. And this historical wrong has to be corrected. And that's what we are doing today. We are correcting the wrongs of the NPP government.
Let's still stay on security because pressure is mounting on President Mahama to name a substantive defense minister after the office became vacant following the tragic passing of Omani Boama. President Mahama gave the finance minister, Dr. Kassiel Atoforsen, an added responsibility by appointing him as an acting defense minister. But 6 months after the incident, the president is yet to make the appointment. Listen to President Mahama, who in November last year said he was going to make the appointment after the Christmas break.
The promise to appoint more than 60 ministers, and some people said, how are you going to work with only 60 ministers? As I speak today, we're working with 58 ministers because, unfortunately, they say Allah gives and Allah takes. He took 2 of our comrades, and we haven't filled those positions yet. I can see people speculating he's going to appoint a new defense minister, a new environment minister. We're not in a hurry. I'll do those appointments next year after the holiday, the Christmas and the New Year. We'll fill those positions. And so those speculating about somebody going to be appointed.
That was President John Mahama in November 2025. And it is this reason why the former Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwu has warned that the continued absence of a substantive defense minister is exposing Ghana's security architecture. He argues that the recent terrorist attack on Ghanaian tomato traders in Burkina Faso highlights the urgent need for a fully mandated defense minister to lead investigations and a coordinated, decisive national response.
I just think that the Ghanaian government must be explaining to us what happened, the circumstances. I think government has not yet come out. They've come out officially with some statement, but we want detailed explanation, and either by the foreign minister or by the defense minister. And that's why I kept on calling that the president should have appointed a defense minister, because by this time the minister for defense should have been on the flight to Burkina with his team. This is not the job of the interior minister. He's my friend, but unfortunately that's not his job. If he goes there, he'll go and meet the defense minister. It's the soldiers who are fighting the terrorists. It's not the interior minister's job. And unfortunately, the interior minister's job ends at Paga, the border. Doesn't go beyond the border. It's the duty of the minister for defense with defense intelligence and national security to have gone. They set up a team. They will go there, find out what happened, investigate, and make sure that they find out what happened, the circumstances that led to it, and then also to find out what's the best way to ensure that it doesn't happen again, because that's very important for us.
That's former Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwu. Well, a security analyst, Emmanuel Coutin, has also been sharing his view on whether the absence of a Minister for Defense is exposing Ghana's security.
The role of the Defense Minister is quite administrative. We have our generals, and if you look at the situation we have in Burkina Faso and the military regime, more often than not, our envoys to those countries or countries with this insecurity should be people with career intelligence under their belt, or if you like, career officers or retired senior military officers. And don't forget, we have military attaches and the intelligence officers attached to the embassy in Burkina Faso. So he's talking about that ideal situation, but given the situation we found ourselves, we suffered a very tragic incident in Ghana where we lost these gallant men. I think the tragedy has gone so deep into the president. But hey, the president must understand that these things happen, life must go on, and we those who are fortunate to be alive ought to be protected at all costs. So I think that it is untenable for the president to still hold on to not appointing a substantive defense minister. And the last time he came, he was telling us about a supposed reshuffle. I think given the insecurity around the country, especially given what is happening in the Sahelian region, we need to appoint a substantive defense minister now.
So who could really become the next defense minister? Well, some names have come up as potential candidates for the position. My colleague James Aveji has been providing some details.
Names have been making rounds in the last few days. Top amongst them is the MP for Koliklote constituency, Honorable Senator Ajiman Rawlings. We know her state of committees of security-related matters in Parliament. For instance, is the chairperson of the Select Committee on National Security and Intelligence. She's also a member of the Defense and Interior Committee as well in Parliament. She holds 5 separate certificates on security and intelligence-related courses as we speak. The second, and so she is leading those 4 names that's been coming up. Second on that list is Mr. Prosper Douglas Barney. He played key roles in the first John Dramani Mahama administration, where she served as the chief of staff between 2013 and 2015. He was later sent to work as the Minister for the Interior from January 2016 to January 2017, when the first John Mahama government left power. Last year, he was appointed the National Security Advisor to the President. That is the position he's currently holding. The third on that list is Lieutenant Colonel retired Gablo Late, who is a retired military officer and a security expert. He served as the National Security Coordinator for the government from 2009 to 2014 under President John Evans Fifi Atames, and continued under President John Dramani Mahama. He has also held senior roles at the United Nations peacekeeping missions when he worked as a military officer as director of the African Center for the Study and Research of Terrorism under the African Union. He is currently serving in the John Dramani Mahama administration as the special envoy to the Alliance of Sahelian States. Finally is Ernest Projademfi. He is currently the Deputy Minister for Defense. He previously served as the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer for the NDC. And in 2025, that is when the President appointed him as Deputy Minister for Defense. So those are the 4 names that have been making rounds. We do not know whether the President will be selected from any of these 4 or outside of this, and when that appointment will happen.
James Aveji with those details. So the big ask now is there really a need to restructure Ghana's national security architecture? And those are the concerns that we want to raise this afternoon. Dr. Ishmael Norman is a security analyst. He's joining us this afternoon for more on this. Grateful for your time today. We also have the president and CEO of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. That's Dr. Ishmael Norman himself as well. Welcome to the program. Does the absence of a defense minister leave some vacuums within Ghana's security architecture? Dr. Ishmael Norman, do I have you? I mute your microphone so we can hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I said thank you very much for the invitation. And I think it is not very fair for Honorable Dominic Nitiwo to say that the absence of a substantive defense minister is render Ghana weak. That is a bit insulting to all the major generals, the brigadier generals, the colonels, the highest CDS, all the way to the bottom of the military rank profile. One civilian with no military experience who becomes a Minister of Defense is not going to strengthen the Ghana military. But this goes beyond the army. He's talking about the security agencies.
Right.
Because the security of this country is not being kept only by the Ghana army, Ghana police, immigration, and all of that. That statement is a bit too broad. It's a bit too raw. It's a bit too insulting and alienating. And so I believe that he should really apologize for that statement because there are countries that have no standing armies, but they are very good police, very good immigration, customs officers, and all of that. And those countries are as peaceful as any with standing armies. So I believe that he's biased. I respect him very much. I actually like him very much. But I think the statement is a bit biased and it's a bit too partisan.
Right. Dr. Norman, he made the statement on the basis of the Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak leading the Ghanaian security delegation to Burkina Faso following the killing of 8 Ghanaian traders in that particular country. He said this should have been the duty of a defense minister if we had one.
I do believe that Honorable Muntaka is just as good. I have worked with him actually on a number of bills in Parliament. I'm talking about Honorable Muntaka. He is a very detail-oriented man, and that the fact that he is a military of the interior does not disqualify him to lead a Ghanaian delegation. We are not at war with Burkina Faso. We need somebody who understands diplomacy, the intersectional relationship between the two countries. So even if a pastor had led the group, by all means in the group there will be soldiers, there will be police officers, there will be customs officers. So what is the issue here? I know that partisan politics in Ghana makes everything the other side does to be wrong. But you know what? Objectivity will not allow that kind of conclusion. So for me, I do not blame Honorable Muntaka for doing the job that Ghana asked him to do on behalf of all of us. And I believe that the fact that he is not a soldier, does not disqualify him. Even a pastor could have been sent. Any of the leading pastors in Ghana could have been sent. Any of the leading imams could have been sent. And that would have been perfectly fine because we are not at war.
Right.
We are at peace. Talking about peace, then let us go with the way that we feel it will really enhance the optics of our peace-seeking behavior.
Well, it is indeed true that we are in peacetime, but is it not a cause for concern that for the past 6 months we've not had a substantive defense minister?
It is a concern. And, you know, the president made his statement before we went for the Christmas vacation. And he said that after the vacation, he will do the appointment. And I know a few names have come out. Incidentally, just several weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, I actually came out with a paper talking about the sex and rank profile within the military and the security agencies. And I think it's about time a woman becomes the Minister of Defense. It's about time the president takes his time and appoints somebody who is capable, who understands policy, the parliamentary proceedings leading to defense, and so on and so forth, budgeting and all of that, for that woman to become or to become the Minister of Defense. It will be for reputational benefit. NDC will be so high up before all women, all girls, that it will be amazing, the benefit of that appointment.
Right.
We are tired of men. Appoint a Mr. President, please, 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 appoint a woman.
Appoint a woman, indeed. Dr. Norman, but as we speak, though, we have a Deputy Defense Minister in the person of Ernest Broja Jemfi. It appears he is almost forgotten. Do you feel that he's been sidelined within the ministry?
I believe that he is not forgotten. Maybe, you see, when you're in that kind of position, he has to be very careful. His engagement with the media and all of that, very careful, because otherwise people will say he's pushing. And so I believe that he's being very diplomatic, especially if your boss had died in an accident with a lot of questions around it. So you don't want to put your face out there and then people start to come up with all kinds of theories that, you know, you were probably behind the death and all of that. So I admire him for being a gentleman and being just committed to the work he's assigned to do. If the president's wisdom, with the consultation of Council of State and the military brass, agree that he should be the next guy, then he will be the next guy. So let's salute him for the gentility and the diplomacy that gentleman has actually shown to all of us.
I'll take you back to your own words that you just said, that we should appoint a woman. Which woman would you suggest?
Well, the name has already been put out by your reporter. I believe that she served on the defense.
Who is that, Dr. Norman, if you can help me?
That is Honorable Dr. Senator Ajuma Rawlings. She has served Defense and Interior Subcommittee and Intelligence Subcommittee. I mean, I have seen her participate in activities at Ghana Armed Forces Staff College on a number of issues and has quite a lot of qualifications. But in addition to that, the military is like the medical profession. They've been disciplined. She's already proven beyond a reasonable doubt that she is committed to discipline as a medical doctor. As a parliamentarian, there is not an iota of any bad thing or statement that anybody has said about her. She has proven her worth. I also believe that according to the Affirmative Action Act, we are supposed to have at least 25% of every organization, the top brass, to be women. We are not doing it. I'm not a woman, but I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have sisters, I have nieces. I think it's about time we allow Honorable Dr. Senator Ajuma Rawlings into that position, because it's as if she's been groomed for that. And I don't see how we are not elevating her to that position. However, the President, His Excellency President Dramani Mahama, has a good reason why he's taking his time to make his decision. Right. And so we should give that benefit, because it is only he alone, together with the consultation of the Council of State, can actually come up with a selected person. I just hope and pray on my knees that it goes to Honorable Dr. Zanata Ajiman Rawlings.
Right. Dr. Norman, let's talk about something else, because there's a new bill before Parliament which seeks to change the name of NIB back to BNI. This time around, it's going to be called Bureau of National Intelligence. What do you make of that?
My brother, Ghana politics is so dicey. Sometimes one has to be very, very careful, because Honorable Muntaka is right about the reasons why they want to do the change.
Right.
Honorable Minority Leader, Honorable Apenyo Markin, is also right that the bill was passed in only 2020.
Right.
5 years ago. We haven't really exhausted many of the avenues that the bill, that the Act 2010-30 provides. The moment we change that, we also have to change the national security strategy, because it has to be in sync with the new proposed act. So I think before we can do a real objective critique of the proposed bill, we need to do a side-by-side content analysis. I have already done the National Security Act of 1030. So I have a copy of this 32-page bill. And I don't want to do any content analysis now, because there are going to be changes by all means. And so when I look at it, I don't see any substantial differences between this one and 1030. However, I am not a politician. And in most countries, politics leads the law. And so if they say the law needs to be changed, we just have to follow. In sync.
But Dr. Norman, isn't this worrying, the seeming politicization of our security apparatus? Now we are learning that the Ministry of National Security will be effectively scrapped, and that this new BNI will be under the presidency. Is this not a cause for concern, how we are seemingly politicizing our security agencies?
We are. And if we get a president with the characteristics of previous ones, or somebody with a model of His Excellency Donald Trump, we're going to be in deep trouble, really. So for me, if you have an authoritarian leader and with the national security under him and directing everything, this country is going to be it will evolve into a complete dictatorial ecosystem. So for me, I don't support this bill at all. However, I am not a politician. I'm not a member of parliament. And my views, some of you respect it, but other people don't.
We do.
For me,
we respect your views.
My brother, I just have to sit and watch and see what happens, and then learn and comment on it. So it's not the good direction for democracy. That is having a lot of issues. It's not going to work too well, because the intimidation that people suffered under the previous NID, we're going to go back to it, And there are a lot of things people don't even want to think about it, or for them to remember, because of all the horrible behavior, abuse of human rights and autonomy of people by the national security architecture under the previous government. So we have to be careful when we change in laws. If we take the totality of our history together, this law, 1030, is just as good as any kind of regional national security act that I have read, So, like I said, the politics leads the law.
Right.
The law, but it's always following the politicians.
Dr. Norman, there are also fears that if this bill is eventually passed, it will open the floodgate for future governments to change names of security agencies whenever, wherever they want, and effectively put them under them and effectively conquer the security agencies, like you mentioned in the United States. That's happening right now.
Yeah. You are right, my brother, because you see, we are working on the committee on the our constitutional reform, the committee has done a good job coming out with very good reforms. The moment we make this change, there is going to be a clash somewhere within the constitutional with the powers that are being vested in a presidency. So I think that when you take everything together, I think we need to then sit together with the constitutional reform, the proposed constitutional committee, the committee that did that. They need to sit together with those that are proposing this bill, review the old act, and come out with synergy between all those three, so that this new one will not make the mistakes that we recognize in the Constitution, even in the Constitution, let alone in 1030, and then this one. We like to frame new laws when we haven't even exhausted the application of the old laws. And so for me, my fear is that if you don't get a moral politician as a president, somebody who steals from the public purse and turns around and say, don't steal from the public purse, there's not much anybody can say. And all the freedom that Ghanaians enjoy could easily be abused.
Right.
Easily.
Dr. Norman, final one. What do you make of the handling of the Ghanaian government when it comes to the killing of the 8 traders in Burkina Faso? And also, ECOWAS says it will launch an investigative probe into the incident.
My brother, a few years ago, when people were criticizing President Mahama for allowing the Guantanamo Bay detainees into Ghana, I was one of the people that was supporting and even wrote a paper, published, peer-review paper. And then I theorized that the reason why the terrorists were attacking Togo, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, and they have left Ghana alone was because of the wisdom of President Mahama for taking the Guantanamo Bay detainees into Ghana. By that act, we showed hospitality, respect to human body, human beings, and so we became instantly, without anything on our part as a nation, friends of them, at least sympathizers. Now, when President Mahama allowed President Ibrahim Traoré to come to his inauguration, it was a good thing in terms of regional security relationship, international diplomacy. It was all a good thing. However, the moment that happened, I knew there were going to be trouble, because the terrorists now see Ghana as a friend of their enemy. Ibrahim Traoré is their enemy. And so a friend of my enemy is my enemy. And that is why they attack us, because as Honorable Dominic Nitiwu said, the attackers knew that the people were Ghanaians. The truck that they were traveling in had Ghanaian license plate. They were speaking English. They were dressed like Ghanaians. So why did they attack them? They attacked them as rendering us as damaged goods, because we have already sort of aligned with Ibrahim Traoré through the presidency. But what is President Mahama supposed to do as a leader, as a good president in the region? He has to be friends with his neighbors within the community of nations. So the choice here is a very difficult one. And I do not know how President Mahama, the foreign ministry, and all of them together are going to try to send message somehow to the terrorists to please leave Ghana alone. We will not hurt you. We are only trying to build international diplomacy between the various presidents and the leaderships in the various countries, because we don't engage with the internal affairs of Burkina Faso, so please leave us alone.
Right. What about ECOWAS? What do you make of their move to investigate this?
It's a very tenuous situation. They have to be very careful, because they don't like ECOWAS because of the attempt to attack proposed under President Tinubu, when the coup happened in Mali and Chad and all of those places. And somehow there was a pullback. So they don't like ECOWAS as an entity.
Right.
So they have to be very, very diplomatic. Otherwise, they're going to meet a big cement wall and they would be able to break through. That is part of why they left the ECOWAS group. So they have to be careful.
Okay. Dr. Ishmael Norman, thank you very much. He's a security analyst. Let's talk cocoa now, because hundreds of cocoa farmers across Sifi and other major cocoa growing districts have staged protests against the NDC government following a mid-season cut in cocoa prices, slashing their incomes by nearly 30%. Well, the government reduced the farm gate price from 3,625 Ghana cedis to 2,587 Ghana cedis per bag for the 2025-26 season, a move farmers describe as a betrayal of campaign promises to improve their earnings. Demonstrations were reported in Sefioso, Bekwai, Asunafo, and Amenfi, with farmers warning the cut threatens their livelihoods. Here's the leader of the group.
Petition by cocoa farmers in Western North region to the Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board through the Regional Manager, Cocoa Board, Western North. We, the cocoa farmers of Western North region, gathered today at Sefioso, respectfully submit this petition to the Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board through the Regional Manager. We are law-abiding citizens and hard-working farmers who contribute significantly to Ghana's economy. Cocoa remains the backbone of our region and a major source of foreign exchange for the nation. It is therefore with deep concern and heavy hearts that we register our displeasure that the recent reduction in the producer price of cocoa is woefully inadequate and a bad example and precedent to start with. The cost of farming inputs, labor, transportation, and agrochemicals continues to rise, yet the price paid to farmers has been reduced. The general cost of living in Ghana continues to increase. Farmers are struggling to pay school fees. I must say that we are struggling to pay school fees, to pay our medical bills, and provide basic necessities for our families. Unfair burden on we farmers. Farmers should not be made to suffer for marginal managerial or policy challenges within Cocoa Board. When there are financial difficulties, the burden must not be shifted onto the farmer in the village. We have nothing to do with management decisions and management inaction. We farmers therefore request that the right thing should be done.
That's the leader of the cocoa farmers who staged a protest in the Western North region earlier today. And receiving the petition on behalf of Cocoa Board, the Western Regional Administrator of Cocoa Board, Enoch Ampofo, said their concerns will be attended to.
The farmer welfare is at the heart of every decision that the management takes. Bibia no ho no management ebe ya sebe enye farmer no yiye yontia we to da na biba na say eno no de ayeden aba aha na enso so that's what regional cocoa board management no your friend say the turnaround strategies as say no you implementing so I say you know see in the plan for implementing the turnaround strategies you say ebe you dividends. This boardrooms are industry no akomu you say enche biara you be free and don't yesre nana and then nkofo nyina say abotre and na you free no ho so wo munya abotre na wo boma emre kakra you say anya free no you be free e say hu say nyina so so you go farmers ni bi enti bibia ni ayen so yet.
Well, that's the administrator of Cocoa Board in the Western North region, Enoch Ampofo, assuring the farmers that Cocoa Board did those cuts in the interest of cocoa farmers, and that Cocoa Board is never going to do anything that will hurt the cocoa farmers in the Western North region and across the country as well. And this afternoon, government has released nearly 1 billion Ghana cedis, 855 million, to settle arrears owed to cocoa farmers following the recent payment crisis that left many producers unpaid for months despite delivering their produce to buying companies. In the wake of the crisis, government has announced a sweeping package of reforms aimed at stabilizing and restructuring the cocoa sector, including a controversial reduction of more than 1,000 Ghana cedis in the producer price per bag. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Chairman of the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, defended the measures, insisting they are necessary to restore financial stability and place Cocoa Board back on a sustainable path.
We have heard a lot of comments from our colleagues, and they have tended all of a sudden to pretend as though they are the people who love the people of Ghana, when Ghanaians were very clear that they were enemies of Ghana and didn't want them near the Flagstaff House anymore. The bottom line of all that has happened is that some amounts were owed to cocoa farmers, and the government took a decision to repay those monies so that the cocoa buying companies can settle those outstanding obligations. I'm happy to report to you that this morning the government has released 855 million for the purposes of paying those outstanding obligations. But permit me to say, ladies and gentlemen, that we have decided to introduce a number of reforms. But those reforms that we are introducing are reforms that are long overdue. The cocoa sector has been under enormous strain over the years, and we have pretended to be servicing cocoa farmers, when in fact what we have done is to destroy the vehicle that we are using to support the cocoa farmers.
Isaac Adongo is the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee. Let's get on to Zoom right now and speak to a former spokesperson for Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo. Grateful for your time this evening. You've been listening to Isaac Adongo. I want to believe that you also heard the cries of farmers in Western North. Let's begin with what the chairman of the Finance Committee said about this particular issue. What do you make of it?
I am wondering how that addresses the challenge the farmers are facing at the moment. There are two major situations farmers are facing. One, the fact that for almost 4 months, cocoa farmers who have given cocoa to Ghana Cocoa Board, and the second problem is the reduction of the payments to cocoa farmers to a tune of about 30%. I don't know what the Honourable Member of Parliament said, how we are, except the bit with the fact that they've raised about 855 million certain outstanding areas. The question you need to ask yourself is that how much farmers, and would this be enough to satisfy the challenge available? I do not think so, because you will realize that the Cocoa Board is currently owing the licensed buying companies, in effect, the cocoa farms, to the tune of about 11 billion, release an amount which is less than $1 billion. That is less than 10%. It's the issue you have at stake. I think that government is only scratching the back of the problem and is not confronting it head on. You owe farmers, it's been over 4 months, and if you are releasing funds to repay the debt you owe, and you are releasing less than 10%, and you are, instead of addressing the issue, go on off tangent, attacking people and creating the impression as though you are not responsible for the situation you have at hand. I think that the more they realize that there's a problem and they must address that problem, the better for the state and for the cocoa farmer. Attack on people who are not responsible for the challenge we face today, and rather address the challenge which is presently facing the farmer.
But Fifi, don't you think you're being unfair to government, because this is the first time that farmers are getting 90% of the FOB price of cocoa?
This is the first time telling a blatant with regards to the FOB price for cocoa farmers. Do not fall for the trick when they say that they are paying 90% to the cocoa farmer. At the beginning of every season, that is when the FOB price is determined. And the FOB price was determined by the finance minister with all members of the police committee present at that meeting. And the FOB price that was 7,200, not 4,000. So if we are paying farmers out of 4,100, it is only a lie they are telling the farmer. It's supposed to be 7,200. I am not the one announced. that the weighted average or the FO price achieved was 7,100. Where is that 4,100? It must of the conversation, what the farmer must be paid on is based on 7,200 and not 4,100.
So by how many percent do you think they are paying them now, looking at the current price of 2,587 Ghana cedis?
I have not done the calculation. Honest with you, I do not see the point in going on with the conversation about paying farmers 90% of. The point is that a 4,100 is alien. The truth is, at the beginning of every cocoa season, Cocoa Board will determine the FOB price. The farmer is given a guaranteed minimum price. It's the barest minimum Cocoa Board will pay. So at the middle season, if you create something new, which is alien to the structure we have, and use it as a basis for any discussion, then you are being disingenuous. What you need to note is that from the Ministry of Finance indicated that going forward, it is going to introduce a regime which will take into consideration when increase or a price decrease. Government will then pay the farmer based on that. Why did the government make that statement? They made that statement on the basis that the current system which we are running is one that provides a minimum which you do not go below. So if government says it's going to introduce a payment regime, which will mention the fact that whenever there's an increase market, you increase the farmer price, and when there's a decrease, you decrease the farmer price, you are yet to introduce that payment regime. So what is the basis? Now saying that, well, it used 7,200, it is now 4,100. Something is not right. And government must accept the fact that metric arrangement in trying to polish this thing up is not, and they must, according to the commitment, the guarantee they gave to the cocoa farmer at the beginning of the season.
Fifi, you've worked at a cocoa board before. What advice would you give government in this situation?
I think that government must be open, and government must accept the fact that there's an issue and confront the issue. What is just polishing up what is happening. I think that Cocoa Board is in real trouble, and it is time for government to bail Cocoa Board out. If government decide not to accept the charge and decide to blame others and decide to find excuses, government will not be prepared to answer the call to pay cocoa farmers. There's a death thought of the inability of Cocoa Board to be able to sell at the right price on the international market, and there must be a way to find money or liquidity for a Cocoa Board to pay cocoa farmers. Way out is government to be able to arrange and get money enough to pay the cocoa farmers. In a situation where we are hearing, well, government is giving 150 million, government is paying 37 million, government is giving 870 million. What we have as part of the debt of Cocoa Board in terms of what they are supposed to pay the cocoa farmer is over 11 million. Anything short of that will not address the problem.
But Fifi, the world market price for cocoa has gone down exponentially.
It's a statement of fact that the world market price has gone down.
Yes.
Before you determine the price, you take into consideration the price could go up and it could go down. And that is the very reason why you must sell forward, to prevent a situation where when the price falls, you as a country will suffer. What we have accused for doing is not to sell at the sell forward. Government has come out fighting and saying that that is not true. They sold forward. So if indeed you sold forward and you told us that you were going to get 7,200, why are you now saying that at the international market, so you'll be at a loss? Because you told us you sold forward, so there must not be cocoa for you to sell now to lose out. So their own words is what is exposing them that, well, there is something that they are not telling us, and there's a secret they are hiding, and that is why we are in this problem at this point in time.
Fifi, don't go yet. Let me bring in the chairman of Parliament's Agric and Cocoa Committee, Godfred Seidu Gisal. Welcome to the program. We're grateful to have you join us. We've seen protests earlier today in Western North region, and we've also been hearing the announcement from your colleague Isaac Adongo about some payments made to clear the arrears owed cocoa farmers. Let's start with the protest in Western North by cocoa farmers. Justified? Hello, Mr. Gisal, do I have you?
Oh, yes. Yes, you have me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, well, I have heard about the protest in Seshi. I see a lot of MPP party executives part of this protest. So I'm beginning to wonder whether it's actually cocoa farmers or politically staged protests.
Who do you see?
As you know,
who do you see, Mr. Gisal? Who do you recognize?
I see a number of. I'm a field person. I see a number of constituency organizers and executives of the ruling, the opposition party, as part of those protests. And I'm aware that this was very rehearsed and organized in order to tell a story. The story.
But there could be cocoa farmers, though. There could be cocoa farmers, regardless of their party affiliation.
Plus and minus. The fact that you are a constituency executive doesn't even mean you cannot be a cocoa farmer. So, yeah, to that extent, I agree. The point I'm making is that we appear to be over-politicizing this rather critical issue and trying to mask away what the real problem is. First of all, let's start off. This is unnecessary. I think that government has inherited some crisis. Government has decided to take these crises on board and then announce some reforms that are in reaction to tackling the problem. So my brother, Fifi Boafo, keeps talking about government supposed to do forward sales of what quantities of beans? What quantities of beans allowance is available for government to do forward sales? In 2024-2025, as of 2024-2025, you had rollover beans that were committed at $2,600 per ton, which has to be paid. And then the new regime in 2025 began to pay that. At that time, the prices of cocoa beans rose up to about $10,000 per ton. Now, if it had the luxury of having enough quantum of beans to do spot sales or even forward sales, then they would have done that. But this is the situation where the management that was inherited was such that it had to fail. In fact, it failed to deliver the beans that were used to collateralize the the last indicated loan that you took. And so to that extent, there was a bill, there was a liability that had to be settled. At this stage, for me, you can go all the shenanigans and try to explain this. But the truth is that what is the problem we are faced with? The problem we are faced with is that LDC have a problem with the payment, the full payment of beans that has been taken by Cocoa Board. Is government responding? Yes. Government has responded by in November, government paid 6.5 billion Ghana cedis to LDC. In December 2025, government paid 5.5 billion Ghana cedis. In January 2026, government paid 5.3 billion Ghana cedis. In February, about February 6th, government had paid 620 million Ghana cedis to LDC. Today, government has paid 855 million Ghana cedis to LDC. So for me, that response is happening. Two, how do you go forward in taking care of the beans that are still in the hands of farmers? And I say that beans, that quantum of beans, is not just beans that is supposed to be got from new farmers. These are the same farmers with the same field who have harvested part of their cocoa beans and sold already. So about 530,000 metric tons of that, in fact, 580,000 metric tons of that have come out of the hands of those farmers. So per the projection, what is actually left in the field to be bought from these farmers is about 70,000 metric tons. If all other things work equally. Now, if that is the case, it's just like a tomato farmer. Your ripe tomatoes are ready, you pluck and sell. The next week, another ripe tomato comes in, you pluck and sell. But where do you sell? At what market? What is the quantum of supply in that market? That will determine the price. And in this specific case, that's what is happening. Now, with all the under-recovery that has happened between the price fluctuations of 7,800 projected and actual 4,200, plus the LID that is put on the metric tons of cocoa on the world market, what are you going to continue to service that under-recovery? Where are you going to get the money from? And we are saying that in the past, what you have done at Cocoa Board is to borrow, to come and pay these debts and this mismanagement that you occasion. Now, at this stage, we have to do something. We don't continue to put water in the leaking basket.
Right.
So what do? Do you continue to borrow to come and put in the leaking basket, or you plug the holes and make sure that you have a sustainable cocoa industry? When you were doing the borrow and come and pay, what happened? Sustain the industry. You couldn't.
Right.
So now what you did was, if all audited reports from 2017 have shown you mismanaging and running at huge losses. So we cannot continue to do that. Now you took a bridge financing of $70 billion from Minister of Finance to be able to do this pipe that you've done. You have to be able to pay that money, and Cocoa Board has not been able to pay that money. So government, under the IMF program, under the DPEPU that we are doing, you cannot continue to be borrowing money like that from anywhere. What are our borrowing sources to start with? What are our borrowing sources? The financial institutions internationally that you go and borrow from, what is our status and capacity to go and borrow from them? The indices you left us do not allow us to go and even borrow that money. So where is the borrowing going to come from? Domestic banks again? That you borrow so much that we have to be paying? Just yesterday, 10 billion was paid. You go and pull up the domestic banks. Now, if you do that against the structure of cocoa that we have now, we have trading countries, we have producing countries, we have Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, etc., with cocoa beans as well. Now, what quantities of cocoa beans do they have? How much are they selling? Ghana price down, when where are our buyers? Where are the LBCs? Where are the off-takers? They've gone to the cheap countries, the cheaper countries, which is Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and the rest. So now, if we maintain the price at which we're maintaining it, clearly the cocoa beans cannot be bought and sold. But with this new price announcement, what happens is that there's a good likelihood that, one, the quantity of cocoa beans that you buy is just small, which is 70,000 metric tons.
Right.
Two, you are likely to attract them back because they will now find Ghana cocoa beans competitive. But the question is, to what extent does it affect our farmer? And I'm saying that the aspect that affects our farmer, you are over-dramatizing it. Right. Because actually, if you look at the price parity value of 2,500 and the 3,100, against even only if you take the exchange rate regime and the value of that money, 2,500, the purchasing power of the farmer has actually improved in the current circumstances. And so let's allow the farmer to appreciate that, knowing also that in his next production season, there's going to be some support that is coming by way of free inputs, by way of free fertilizer, and some additional services for the farmer to push in. Right. And by the way, it's not as if this new price that has been announced is going to run throughout. No, it's just for this buying season. If in the next 3 months, the situation develops further and is better in the international market, the price setting committee, what do you call them, 3PR what? C. They will meet again and then they'll decide whether it makes sense to adjust any figures or not.
Okay.
But for now, for me, what is important is that what is even going to the farmer is more in terms of percentages than what we inherited. We inherited you giving farmers 32% and keeping 68%. Since then, it's been 70% to the farmer and 30% to government, or cocoa board for that matter. This new adjustment is actually giving as much as 90% of the FOB achieved. It's not just FOB, achieved FOB price to the farmer. Right. And for me, if we do this against the additional reforms that have been announced, one of which is automatic price adjustment, then you will see that there is hope for the cocoa farmer and possibility of the sustainability of the industry.
Right. Godfred, I want you to hold on for me. I'll come back to you, but let me give Fifi Boafo the chance to respond to some of the claims you've made against the former cocoa board administration, which he was a part of. Fifi, you have something you want to respond to?
A number of them. So say good afternoon to my friend. And I think that what he has demonstrated is a symptom of the problem we face today, a symptom of misinformation or misbriefing, because the kind of briefing that has been presented to the public, it seemed to be the same briefing that has been presented to arms of parliament, and they seem to be singing from the same hymn book. It is a briefing that seeks to create the impression, blame everything on the past government, there is no issue, everything is fine, at a time where there's a major issue. So Dr. Jaso sought to belittle the effect of what is happening to farmer. Doc, I'm sorry to say that, be a bit more sensitive to. If we are a bit more sensitive, we realize the fact that, well, projection made by Cocoa Board and as was announced by the chief executive, he says that they have about 70,000 metric tons of cocoa to buy. The 70,000 metric tons of cocoa, the chief Dr. Abiy said he have to buy. It will take into consideration the fact that every bag the farmer is losing about 1,000 Ghana cedis. That amount to about 1.12 billion Ghana cedis. If cocoa farmers are going to lose about 1.12 billion Ghana cedis just on the 70,000 metric tons of cocoa, and Dr. Jaso and the NDC consider this not to be a hit to the cocoa farm, then, Doc, you are not paying a plight of the cocoa farmers. Again, I said that your briefing, you must go back and get some clarity on that. It's the fact that, well, the chief executive says, well, they have sold about 580,000 metric tons. What they gave us was projected figure of 7,200. They decided not to sell again because now the price has dropped. So the figure they used 7,200. So if you are to sell 580,000, that should give you 4.176 billion US dollars. Just take 70% out of it. What they say they are paying the cocoa farmers. The 70% they say are paying the cocoa farmer. The S should give you something about 30 billion Ghana cedis. All the as Dr. Jaso enumerated as to the figure they have paid to the cocoa farmer doesn't lead you to anything close to 30 billion. And if it doesn't give you 30 billion Ghana cedis, where is the reminder or where is the part of the money that has not been paid to the cocoa farmers? You can decide to blame everybody. You can decide to find people and use them as an excuse why we are here. But if we do not accept that we have a real challenge, and then we must be open, we must be frank about it, but rather seek to find people to blame, then we are going to create problems. And Doc, just to say that, well, you've seen MPP constituency executives involved in the demonstration, it means that it's an MPP orchestrated activity. I think that is unfair. If there are even any MPP party executives who are involved in the demonstration, when you go to Western North, majority of the people in the region are cocoa farmers.
Right.
Not that the person is a cocoa farmer and he cannot express his work. He cannot express the difficulties the farmer faces. So, for example, who will produce about 100 bags of cocoa, multiply 100 by 10,000 by 1,000 Ghana cedis, and that's a hit the farmer is going to take. And we are talking about, well, inflation and then the value of the cedi. I guess all members of parliament and members of the majority group, your salaries must also be decreased by 30% because after all, inflation is better and the dollar rate is better.
Right.
If you want the farmer to lose 30% of their revenue, I guess you should also recommend same for your members.
Okay. Fifi Boafo, thank you very much. She's the former head of public affairs at Cocoa Board. And earlier we also heard from Godfred Seidu Jassoa, who is the chairman of Parliament's Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee. Away from cocoa, let's talk health, because family of the baby allegedly stolen from Mamprobi Polyclinic are demanding justice after the child was found, as they are calling on the police to thoroughly investigate and prosecute the suspect. According to the family, the child has developed severe infections after being recovered and is currently on admission at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital receiving medical care. The family is now calling on the police to intensify investigations and ensure the suspect is prosecuted to ensure and serve as a deterrent to others. Ramat Bashiru is joining me via Zoom with details. Ramat, you were at the facility today. What more can you tell us?
Kenneth, this morning when I visited the family of the recovered baby who was allegedly stolen at the Mamprobi Polyclinic, the family was, they tell me that what they are demanding is very simple. They are just demanding that justice is served and then the suspect will be prosecuted. They are currently at Kolebu Teaching Hospital where the baby and then the mother are receiving medical treatment because they reported that the baby is currently suffering severe infections. And I spoke to the relatives, including the father of the baby, and this is what they said to me.
Ramat, we will bring back that sound you introduced briefly, but when you visited the place, of course, you've mentioned that they are accusing the baby thief of infecting their baby, but did you see any bodily harm? Did you see that the baby was physically hurt?
The baby and the mother are currently in the ward. The security was very tight at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and they will not allow us to speak or see the mother and the baby. But the MP for the constituency, Ododododo, where the stolen, the recovered baby parents live, was present in the constituency and spoke to us. He says that this incident is unfortunate and he's going to make sure that justice is served, while he assured the families that he's going to raise this issue on the floor of Parliament tomorrow.
Right, we can now listen to the family members making those accusations.
Already, His Excellency, the President has mandated the Gender Minister to intervene in this regard, ensure that all medical expenses are taken care of. He also donated some items through the Minister to the victim, the mother and the child, and then the father as well.
For now, I think everything is under control, and the woman must be jailed. No, we will do a follow-up. We are not going to let it go just like that. The woman must face the law. Then also plead with President Mahama and his administratives to come to support the family.
No, by the help of the Minister of Gender, right? So by the help of their support and other stuff, they themselves brought the child to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, to further his, further treatment. We are all in Ghana. The law needs to work. So, as the Gender Minister said, they are doing the rightful need. So that's what we are waiting on.
You see, my labs now see young resource now, and to just say young resource now, so my new year,
in Ghana here, sometimes when things like this happen, you don't have to take the law into your hands, but rather let the law work. So we are pleading with the authority that they should just go accordingly and let the law work. Because if now they didn't do anything, or they don't do anything, and they just free the woman, we don't know where she's going to start it again.
Plus some cash donations and so on. For us, In fact, okay, so currently as well, the child is undergoing medical examinations to ensure that the child is safe and very healthy. And so that's why they are at Kolebu at the very moment. We are calling that security should be beefed up. We shouldn't allow this thing to happen anymore. As a member of parliament, I've also done my bit, and I'm still continually doing so, because we are a family. We work together, we are together, and so this is not a matter that will die tomorrow, but we will keep pushing and pushing. I've just said that I'm going to make a statement on this in parliament, just so we raise awareness through the health ministry, and to ensure that every hospital, every clinic, every health center, everywhere anybody gives birth, we should put certain measures in place to ensure that this will not happen again, because it's very difficult to go through 9 months of pregnancy. The risks of loss of life, the risk of high blood pressure, the risk of all kinds of negative effects, and then you get to that point where you give birth, then someone from nowhere, because probably the person has money to buy, they buy your child and you lose that child. I don't think you can live with that trauma.
I still have my colleague Ramat Bashir with me. Ramat, how is the mother doing?
When we spoke to the family, the father of the recovered baby, he tells me that the mother is in good condition. From yesterday, she has not really recovered from the emotional trauma she went through, but now she's recovering, and then is left with the baby, who is currently in the ward and is receiving medical treatment. The baby is severely infected. That's what the father tells me.
Ramat Bashir is a woman on the ground. Thank you very much, Ramat. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. On the Kwabienya Brekusu Kitasi stretch, pupils make their way to and from school along a dusty, pothole-ridden road. Covering their faces with handkerchiefs has become a part of the daily routine, as every passing vehicle leaves behind a haze of dust that blurs visibility. Beyond the classroom, the impact is evident at the Brekusu Health Center, where health workers report increasing respiratory diseases. More in today's episode of Roads of Peril by Pearl Ofori.
We have respiratory tract infections, both adults and the kids as well.
Between 2003 and now, we've lost almost about 105 students. We apply on this road and look at the nature and state of the road.
This is the Brekusu Road. Commuting to and from school should not be this uncomfortable. But for these young ones in Brekusu, it is. Every day, pupils walk along this untarred stretch, bracing themselves for the next passing vehicle. When a vehicle approaches, they pause and cover their faces, knowing that once it passes, the dust will follow. Gabriel Maupemo says he's allergic to the dust and is worried about what constant exposure could mean for his health.
And you see, when the cars are going, the dust that comes straight, it comes straight to my eye. It makes it itch me. Sometimes I have bad eyesight at that time, and even inhaling it, sometimes I cough.
While filming, this woman approaches and insists she wants to speak.
Oh, go FM. Yes, say what the high Brekusu. Why? Munkacho Mampai no me kwa my why? Go FM. Yes, Remo. Munkacho Mampai. No me kwa my why? Ni ye bread. It's in ya yali kuma. Ya yale. Yali o. Daizi fu. Want to na karasa. Daizi fu. Want to na kanasa. Yes, many abre pa. Many brankasa. Mesi ya yali. High Brekusu. Yali papa.
At the Brekusu Health Center, which is the community's main health facility serving Brekusu and surrounding areas, health officials say respiratory-related cases are common.
talking about conditions in relation to the nature of the road, we have respiratory tract infections, we have the bronchitis, the croup, the pneumonia, the rhinitis. We also have pneumonia and asthma cases coming in, both adults and the kids as well.
And there have been instances where there have been challenges in transporting patients during emergencies.
I recollect a memory or an occasion that happened way back in 2022 when a pregnant mother was in labor and we needed to transfer her to the regional hospital in Koforidua. I personally placed a call to the national. What they told me was because of the deplorable nature of our roads, they are unable to come. My director also put in her effort, my DDNS, but to no avail. So usually we rely on the local transport system, the taxi drivers, to transport patients to the nearby facilities or during referral.
Sterling International, a private school on the Brekusu Road, has had over 100 pupils leaving because of the condition of the road. Alfred Kojo Aloti is the principal.
Yes, between 2003 and now, we've lost almost about 105 students. 105. Just within a term, they go out. Some will come in and go. By the twinkle of an eye, they are gone. And quite apart from this one too, we apply on this road and look at the nature and state of the road. There are issues of respiratory-related diseases that parents complain of, and eventually it leads to withdrawals. Parents would come in, we would do the admissions online, and the first time they drive on this road, withdrawals. So it's not been so easy for Sterling. If you look at our buildings, we have a capacity for about 1,000 students, but we are nowhere near even a third of that, just because of the withdrawals that we encounter.
Learners here share their own experiences.
Actually, I don't live around here. I live around Pokrasi Kwabinia. So I have to commute from there to school every morning. And the bus gets spots easily because of the road. Sometimes it has potholes and it's easy for... This morning, for instance, we had a flat tire. So we got to school really late. Now the bus systems are really difficult to operate because of the road. And you can be on the bus. We are inhaling a lot of dust as we're on the bus. So we can be on the bus and we randomly hear 5 people sneeze at once. we all get sick sometimes. When the weather is cold as well, it can cause some of us to get so sick. Some of us are asthmatic as well. So it's really not a good thing with the current state of the road.
Due to the potholes and the dust, parents are not able to come and visit their children in the school. And when they come to visit, their cars mostly get spots on the way here and it gets dirty. So we would like for the government to fix the road as fast as possible.
From children covering their faces on their way to school, to a health facility managing rising respiratory cases, to emergency referrals complicated by poor access, the cost of this road is being counted in more ways than one. For JoyNews, I am Pearl Ufuru.
Let's get more on this and speak to the MC for Equiapim South, Paul Osai Ofer. Grateful for your time this evening. When are you fixing the road? This is not the first time this issue has come up.
Okay, good afternoon and thanks for having me. So we can tell you on authority that the road is being fixed, and as of this afternoon, what I know is that the contractors have got into the site of the school that you just showed in the documentary. So as we speak, the contractors are on the road and it's being worked on.
Over a dozen of your residents died from respiratory diseases due to the dust on your road all the time. Are you doing anything to help these people?
Well, it's unfortunate, but I think the intervention from the contractors, as we saw this afternoon, was that most parts of the road that we drove on this afternoon on our inspection showed that they are being watered, at least just to manage the dust while the construction goes on. So I think we'll have to engage them further to ensure that they are consistent on making sure that the tankers are always on the road, just to make sure that they subdue the dust for a while whilst they proceed with the construction.
Did this road construction you talk of start before or after we filmed our documentary?
Well, I don't know exactly when you filmed this documentary, but I can tell you that as of this afternoon, I drove on the road myself, had engagement with the engineers, and they have done the sub-base right from A line to the Comet police station, exactly the point where you have the Sterling School. And they have, as of the time I was leaving, the remedial works or the grading works they were doing, they had gone beyond that, and the sub-base too were following. So as of this afternoon, I can tell you the contractors are on site working.
So what stretch are they working on? Is it the entire stretch they reported on, the Kwabenya Kuntanasi stretch, or they are working at a very small place?
No, they have worked right from A line. So that is Kwabenya in the East District, and they have now entered the Kwapem South. They have now gotten to Comet, which is in the Kwapem South. So far, with the how do you call it? The work that they have done 6.7 kilometers, and out of that 6.7 kilometers, they have filled it up with the sub base. So yes, the work is ongoing.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I think I lost you, bro. You can.
Yeah. So how many kilometers, are you looking at? You say you've already done 6.7 kilometers. How many
they have gotten to 6.7. In all, without the inner roads, the diversions, it is 19 kilometers. But with those ones, it is 23. So out of the 19, they have gotten to the 6.7. So
when is completion date?
We are looking at this being done within 18 months because this is asphalting. So what I know is that within 18 months, they should have finished this.
Your place is very dusty, as we can all see on our TV. From now till the 18 months deadline, how do you intend to cushion residents there? Are you going to put in any interim measures to reduce the dust in the area?
Yeah, I think I had already mentioned that the engagement with the contractors is also to be mindful of the health and safety of the residents. So within this time, they have to make sure that before the first bitumen comes on the road, they have to make sure that always the tankers will be on the road to minimize at least control. And from Comet, Sterling School to A-Line that we drove on this afternoon, we saw that is being done. What we have to do is to engage them further to come all the way to Ejimenti, Brekuso, and Ejim, Kitasi areas.
So the 18 months that you mentioned, when does it start? Now?
Well, when we met for the stakeholder engagement in October, yes, that's when it started from. So okay. I can say that we've done about 5 months of that already.
Okay, so that means 13 months more.
Yes.
I'm going to note that down, and we'll come back to you in 13 months' time to see if the road has been fixed.
Very well. That's fine.
Thank you very much, MC for Kwapem South. That's Paul Osai Ofair. The Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has saved the country more than 85 million Ghana cedis after intercepting and securing 12 articulated trucks carrying over 40,000 packages of edible cooking oil, tomato paste, and spaghetti destined for Niger through Kulungungu without the required customs human escort. The 12 trucks are expected or suspected to be part of 18 trucks that had earlier been gated out of the system. Speaking to the media after visiting the Tema port to monitor the situation, Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyanko Ampim indicated that there is suspected collusion and has therefore given the Ghana Revenue Authority a one-week ultimatum to investigate the development.
So we got information that an operation that was jointly carried out by Customs and National Security led to the interception of about 12 trucks that were carrying over 44,000 pieces of edible oil, spaghetti, and tomato paste from, what's the port? Akanu, purported to be in transit to Niger. And they were intercepted deep in the night. And so about 11 of them are currently here, as we can see. We haven't seen about 6 trucks as we speak. So investigation is ongoing to identify the location of the 6 trucks that we haven't been able to identify. Initial assessment of these by Customs indicated that it was worth about 2.6 million in taxes. But when they did reassessment, they have realized that the actual value of the taxes that is due the state is over 85 million Ghana cedis. And so this is a huge revenue leakage to the state. I'm here with Commissioner General, Customs officials, and other officials who are interested in this particular exercise. I've asked Commissioner General to conclude investigations within 1 week. We are told that 2 customs officials were expected to accompany, to escort these goods that were purported to go all the way to Niger. Unfortunately, they were not. We will want to find out why. And so within 1 week, we'll come back to you, the media, and the general public to tell you exactly what action is going to be taken. These are things that we are taking seriously, very, very seriously, because we have seen deliberate attempt to steal from the state. The leakage through our customs operations is so much that we are taking serious exception to this. And so we are going to continue with this collaboration between the national security and customs officials to make sure that we nip this in the bud.
Meanwhile, Commissioner General of the GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, also expressed concern over the development and assured that the matter will be thoroughly investigated within the stipulated 1 week period.
GRA, through the Customs Division, together with the Revenue Mobilization Task Force of the National Security, undertook this exercise. And as a state agency responsible for revenue mobilization, I want to assure the nation that this exercise is going to continue, because our mandate is to ensure that we raise needed revenue for national development. Again, we want to sound a caution to all businesses and traders that they should voluntarily carry out their businesses in a compliant manner, and will support them as partners in national development. However, businesses that try to do activities or carry out their businesses in a manner that will try to usurp the right of the state and deny the state of the needed revenue, the strong arm of the law that we are mandated to do, as we are experiencing or seeing today, will stretch it. And when we get hold of them, we will ensure that within the confines of the law we'll apply it. As the Honorable Minister has directed, we'll carry out the investigations within the week. And once we determine the full measure of this action, we want to assure that the first instance we will do is that if these goods, as we have intercepted today, are found not to have been properly documented, we will apply the law of confiscation. And let me emphasize that confiscation will mean that we will take the full value of the goods, the realization of it, and place it into state funds. And that will ensure that we are taking away the capital of the people who are involved as a warning to all those who plan to do such activities. So again, we'll plead and we'll ask businesses to conduct themselves in a manner that follows the law. But if they don't, the full arm of the law within the confines of our enforcement provisions will be applied so that the interests of the state will be protected at all times.
Away from the port, there are growing reactions to Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni's decision to throw out petitions calling for the removal of Special Prosecutor Kisie Jabin, chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, and her two deputies. The CJ, in his letter to the president, established that although the concerns raised serious constitutional and administrative questions, they cannot form grounds for a prima facie determination. We'll get the reaction shortly, but first here are excerpts of the exact petition of the CJ in the letter from the presidency. And there you have it on your screen. It says, while the allegations raise serious constitutional and administrative questions, they do not on their face meet the threshold required for a prima facie determination of stated misbehavior or incompetence, warranting that a committee be set up to inquire into the petition. The petition largely rests on conclusions of unlawfulness and bold or bad faith without establishing at the preliminary level clear facts demonstrating intentional wrongdoing or a manifest inability to perform constitutional functions. Even if the Commission's actions or inactions are assumed to be erroneous, controversial, or suboptimal, such shortcomings do not automatically translate into stated misbehavior or incompetence within the constitutional sense. So let's hear from one of the petitioners, Apostle Abraham Lincoln, who disagreed with the CJ's decision, vowing to stage a protest.
I disagree. I totally disagree with my Lord. I totally disagree with him straight. I will hit the street again. This is not a personal attack on him, but this is, we are protecting. When you do this, you are creating something for people to doubt the credibility of the judicial service. People will be reading meaning into the judicial. Meanwhile, John Dramani Mahama promised to clean the judicial service. So is it trying to say that, wow, all the petition, all the four or all the whatever, there's no power for case? I will hit the street again. Next month, I'm hitting the street again. I staged a one-man demonstration, but I will call people to join if they want to join fast. But still, it's Apostle Abraham Lincoln Labi, one-man demonstrator. I'm going to hit the street again, and I'm calling everybody. If they join me, fine. If they don't want to join me, I will hit the street again.
Apostle Abraham Lincoln is one of the petitioners who was seeking the removal of the Special Prosecutor, Kisie Jabin. The NDC has also been reacting to the decision, and the Director of Legal Affairs for that particular party, Eduji Tamaklo, is insisting that the CJ's decision to throw out the petition does not change the party's long-held position that the EC heads must go. He spoke on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM.
I also want to make the point that the position of the NDC as to the conduct or otherwise of the Electoral Commission over the past 5 years is a matter of record. I want to make the point that the National Democratic Congress still believes that the current composition of the Electoral Commission and how they have conducted their over the past 5 years leaves much to desire. From what I am reading, it does appear that the Chief Justice has taken the position that the matters in there raise very serious administrative and constitutional issues. And so possibly the forum is not Article 146, and that those matters can be litigated in a different place other than the Thanks, God.
Meanwhile, Minority MP for Minsha South, Nana Ejay Bafwo Ewa, believes there is no consistency with the latest decision and that which took out former CJ Tokonu, as he calls for a legislation to fix the inconsistency.
Where there has been a specific breach of the Constitution, you feel that it doesn't establish a prima facie case. That is why we have stated that this issue about what constitutes a prima facie breach in respect of Article 146, we think that it should be reduced into law. Unless it is reduced into law, it becomes the discretionary power of whoever is making the decision. And this is where it is not good. Otherwise, we risk a situation where different standards are going to be applied to different people based on the disposition of whoever is exercising that discretionary power and what he thinks of that person. And so this raises fundamental questions, and I think that we need a statute to resolve these things, because we can't have a situation where different principles or standards will be applied to different Ghanaians holding the same or similar positions.
Many rural and peri-urban dwellers rely on firewood and charcoal for domestic and commercial cooking for various reasons. The use of wood, charcoal comes at a cost to the environment, cutting of trees and the emission of smoke. Well, the government has been implementing interventions to facilitate a seamless transition from unsustainable energy sources to clean and reliable energy. But has it been a success? Well, there's more in today's Climate Evidence by JoyNews' Precious Semevo.
The world's energy sector is responsible for about 75% of greenhouse gas emissions from fossil electricity generation and traditional biomass, among others, according to a 2023 International Energy Agency IEA report. The emissions get worse due to inefficient energy systems and access concerns to new forms of energy in Sunyani, in the Bono region of Ghana, where some residents still use firewood and charcoal for domestic and commercial cooking and industrial purposes to sustain livelihoods. But a few, like Gloria Sifa, a food vendor, have had to use clean energy against her preferred firewood due to the location of her food joint. Her preferred firewood and charcoal come at a cost of forest destruction, a worrying situation according to Richard Kofichei, Bono Regional Deputy Director of the Forestry Commission.
We all need to work together to reverse the trend. Otherwise, a time will come and then we all will be found wanting.
In our society, you will say that poverty is one of the reasons why they continue using firewood. They cannot afford it. And so though we don't like it, but gradually you will reach there.
You can deduce that it is easier getting the firewood as against the LPG.
Dr. Khalid Mensah is the head of Department of Atmospheric and Climate Science at the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani.
Clean, sustainable energy supplies that could be alternatives to this firewood and charcoal burning has to do with the use of LPG gas, which in 2010, around that time, there was a policy that was implemented on this extension of LPG gases to homes to make sure that people reduce the rate at which they are using this firewood.
Gloria Sifa admonished authorities to critically look at the high rate of electricity and gas tariffs to aid transition to sustainable clean energies, as highlighted in the Ghana Climate Change Policy.
You see, Ghana said, "Member 1.5." Now, the gas we turn now watching also 1.5. You do here say, "You part of better as a chinchia of a so you see." Because it was a gas, no, the no amount, a mountain amount of who grass and sang it to. It is a buy bet here, you will be beside Maya. Can you see any bad job? I mean, you say, many animals use it, betting a jano. No, Musabe kind when I'm here, I use the gas.
The country receives some money from these global alliances and then also some from these climate-related groups. And all of this could be geared towards creating some subsidies to reduce the cost of refilling. And if it comes that way, people then now are able to patronize and they are able to use it well.
The hope is that future policies will make clean energy not only affordable and reliable, but also accessible to all. Strategic efforts must address both economic and cultural barriers, ensuring a just and sustainable energy transition for Ghana's underserved communities. Precious Semevo, Sunyai.
This story is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with CDKN Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
Let's head to the Ashanti region now, where police at Kumawu in that particular region have granted bail to the pharmacist at the Kumawu Government Hospital who allegedly assaulted a medical officer while on duty at the hospital. Kofi Dugan was arrested by the police on Sunday and detained overnight for allegedly assaulting Dr. Chini Amankwa, the medical officer in charge of the hospital's emergency unit, following a misunderstanding of a medication meant for a patient on admission.
Preliminary police investigations revealed the traumatized medical officer, who later reported at the police station with a torn cloth and bruises on his face, was assaulted without any provocation. According to Dr. Chene Amangwa, he had gone to the pharmacy to pick up medication for a patient who was on admission at the emergency ward because the patient came to the facility alone. The pharmacist, who claimed the medical officer had no business picking the prescription, first held him and strangled him as his breath was seized.
When I went there were two people there. One is the girlfriend to the pharmacist. Then I gave the card to her because he was on duty as at that time. She removed all the medicine for me. It was left with only one medication. Then he told me I should go and make the payment because the patient doesn't have insurance also. And I said, oh no, the patient is on admission and it is also an emergency. So give it to me and let me send it to the patient. Afterwards, normally what I do is they have to pay, not me. It's everything that we do here as a practice. So actually she gave me the medicine. I said I brought it to the ward. Then I said, no, of late I don't know why this lady have been talking to me and the behavior, because previously it wasn't like that. Then I went back. So when I went back and I informed her, Mama said, "Me baha na me ba bejedra, me sro serve me na ode farmer menko." He said it has been given to him as an order from the pharmacist. And I saw a testing. All of a sudden, then I saw the pharmacist inside. It was really annoying in those things. I said, then he asked me, "What's going on here?" And I said, "No, I came here for medicine, and Gifty is telling me that I should go and make a payment before she gave me the medicine." And I said, "No, when did this thing happen here?" All of a sudden, he became annoyed with me. Then he said, "Well, what Jimmy won?" That's the way if I use the farmer. He insulted me first. Then he held my father at the same time trying to. He even pushed me. We even have a tool like this. I have to grab it or else I'll fall down. He said I should work out. I said, "No, I'm not working out." Again, try to slap me like this.
According to Dr. Chene Amangwa, the attack has left him traumatized as it affects his psychological well-being. He wants the law to take its course.
So now I'm really traumatized. I cannot even work efficiently the way I used to work at first. Very traumatized now. You can even see it from my face. Very traumatized.
The suspect, Kofi Dugan, declined to speak to JoyNews as he referred the team to the medical superintendent of the hospital. Dr. Alice Agbanu is the medical superintendent of the Secretary Kumawu District Hospital. He says the incident has dented the image of the facility.
This is not something that we want to be seen in this hospital. Of course, once things like this happen, I can see the image of the facilities at stake, and that is the reason why we had to quickly activate the code of conduct and disciplinary procedures to ensure that discipline is brought to the facility, and then staff behave the way that the services approve of.
He tells JoyNews management has constituted a 3-member committee to investigate the incident, which breaches the code of conduct of the Ghana Health Service.
Ghana Health Service, we also have our internal processes. We have the code of conduct and disciplinary procedures, which we have also activated. So a team has been put together to do this in line with the Ghana Health Services code of conduct and disciplinary procedures. And the management is waiting for a report, and then based on that report, the necessary action will be taken.
Meanwhile, the Kumawu police have taken statements from the suspect, victim, and witnesses. From Kumawu in the Ashanti region for JoyNews, Oimenteria reporting.
And back here in Accra, my name is Kenneth Jesse. That's it for the pulse this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. And as you can see, our top story this hour is that government receives or releases 855 million Ghana cedis to pay cocoa farmers as majority backs sweeping reforms to revive cocoa board. The news team returns at 7 p.m. with News Prime. LTS is up after the pulse. Have a good evening.